Um, some of you have worked with me before. I know Mark has. I think where's my friend with the English accent?
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Hi, Felix. I did a
are,
transaction with you a couple of years ago.
I know. How are you, Rebecca?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch base with you guys, tell you a little bit about myself. See if you guys have any questions about, what's going on with transactions these days in the lovely climate that we have with COVID-19. My deals are very interesting to say the least these days. A lot of, I feel like I play shrink more than I play lawyer. But I'm sure you guys get a lot of the same thing. A little bit about me. Been doing this for about 25 years. I'm strictly a solo practitioner. So, some of you might be taken aback by that, but please understand, I limit the amount of the cases that I handle. So, when your clients do hand me a file, they actually get me. They don't get my paralegal. They don't get an associate. They work with me. I keep them in the loop. I keep you guys in the loop. I'm a big proponent of working with a team of professionals that are going to get the deal done. So, that's one of the things that I preach to, a lot of the agents that I lecture to, whether they're new in the business, whether they're, seasoned veterans. The idea is that, yes, you guys work the deal, you guys put the deal together, but at the end of the day, you guys can't close the deal, all right? The deal's got to get financed, most likely, right? And the attorney's got to make the deal happen. Now, whether that means, dealing with title or, dealing with inspection issues, dealing with contractual issues, there's pretty much nothing that I haven't seen in my 25 years of doing this. And, I feel very comfortable in handling transactions in New Jersey. I used to practice in New York as well. I moved my practice strictly to New Jersey about 4 years ago. And I work from home. So I'm always reachable. I was typing in the chat, I was typing in all of my information. I don't think I finished typing in my cell phone information. So, please use me as a resource, even on transactions where I'm not involved. If there's ideas that you guys need or what have you, I'm happy to help. If there's any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll let you guys get on to your business.
Thanks, Felix. Thank you.
Hi guys, it's Kathy Haddad. I hope everyone is doing well. Looks like we're going to get some nice weather this weekend, so I hope everyone can enjoy some outdoors, especially since we've been cooped up. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update on loan forbearances. We have finally gotten some clear indication from Fannie Mae of how they're treating loans that are currently in forbearance where clients have basically stopped making their payments. So there's two ways of looking at this. The first way is if the client is currently in forbearance and has stopped making their payments, they can no longer get a mortgage until they've made 3 payments. So basically, if they've missed those 3 payments, they would have to, at that point, make all of those 3 payments, get their loan out of forbearance to be able to get a mortgage today. That's either for a refinance or to purchase a new home. So it's really important to educate our clients. A lot of people have been putting themselves into forbearances just for liquidity reasons, not necessarily because they can't make the payments, but it's really in return affecting them because they don't think it's going to show up on credit. But all forbearances have been reporting on credit, and some clients have been put in forbearance not even knowing that. They were just calling to inquire about it, and somehow they ended up in forbearance. But if they continued making their payments, then they're fine. Anyone that stopped making their payments, they would have to make 3 more payments, be up to speed. And it doesn't have to necessarily mean a 3-month waiting period. It just needs to be 3 payments. And then we'll be able to help them with their mortgage. The market is heating up, as we can all hopefully see. It's been crazy what's been happening. It's great to work with someone like ourselves because we've been still turning around pre-approvals same day, and not only just quick and fast, but our pre-approvals are very accurate. We're still reviewing income, we're still reviewing assets, we're still reviewing the things that we need to that could be troublesome for the client. More than ever, it's so important with all the credit tightening. working with a lender that actually knows what they're doing, knows how to look at income, knows to check the right things to make sure that we're getting you guys to the closing table. And we're still able to close loans really quickly. So there's been a lot of talk of, 90-day closings. You don't need to do 90-day closings. When you're working directly with us, we're able to close in 30, 35 days if you need to. It's just really a matter of making sure that the clients are able to get in and do their inspections and, the normal stuff outside of the mortgage, getting that through. We're still able to, business as usual. So any questions?
I have a question for you. So there are agents out there, not our agents, but agents from other companies that maybe were kind of putting their head in the sand while else was going on. And now we're starting to open up and they're really just starting to work again for the first time. What do they need to know? What's different than just pretend they went to sleep for 3 months and they woke up now? What should they know if they're just getting back to work today? What's different in the pre-approval process or in the market that agents would need to know right now if they haven't been paying attention?
Yeah, the most important thing is making sure that clients are not furloughed. Because if they're furloughed, they're not going to be able to get a mortgage until they go back to work. The second thing is there's been a lot of credit tightening. So anyone that was pre-approved 2 months ago doesn't necessarily mean that they're pre-approved today. So what you're going to find is if someone's giving you a pre-approval from a few months ago, I would check in with them and ask for an updated pre-approval and get them to update it to make sure that their credit score still works, because now credit score requirements require a 620 on a conventional mortgage, on an FHA mortgage. And even with a 620, sometimes when you're running it through the automated underwriting system, we're not getting an approved eligible anymore. So those are things I would be looking at. In some cases with jumbo loans, a lot of the requirements are requiring 20% down now, where a lot of them before did not require 20. You can get away with 10% down on a jumbo loan. The reserves, where basically having mortgage payments, which your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, what's left over, those are now being required on some loans where you may need to have 6 months of mortgage payments left over. A lot of clients barely had 1 month left over after down payment and closing costs. So those are the kinds of things that can turn around and they may not get a mortgage now anymore. So it's just really important making sure that someone who qualified a few months ago can still qualify today. Oop, I think you're on mute.
If it's a 620 now, what was it before?
So we used to be able to go to 580, believe it or not. But again, even with a 620 is very sketchy, and the rate is going to be crazy high, and there could be even points attached to that. So even though we can go to a 620, we used to be able to go to a 620 and the rate would be great. And it was like, we could do it with our eyes closed. Now a 620 is still very risky, and it still may not even go through, but that is the minimum requirement now. Also, all of those non-QM loans, like non-warrantable condos, the no income verification loans, so many investors have pulled away from that. So it's just really important to make sure that anyone that was pre-approved for that type of loan before can still get that type of loan today, because there aren't many investors offering those types of non-QM loans, which is basically a non-qualified mortgage, which is a portfolio loan that doesn't get sold into the secondary market.
Got it. Thank you. So Robin has a question. Elise, can you unmute Robin so she can ask her question of Kathy?
Kathy, while we're waiting, I have a question. What are you seeing down payment wise requirements?
Oh, sure. So for FHA, it's still 3.5%. Conforming loans, depending on the income restrictions, there are income limitations for first-time home buyers. They have a program that allows 3%, but generally 5%, up to $765,000. Once you exceed that, it becomes jumbo, and that requires around 20% now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Robin, go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, I'm working with a client. I'm actually showing them 5 houses tomorrow, but he's had a mortgage, approval and that expired. So he's getting that redone. And I said, why don't you use somebody that, I can, I have resources to get you an approval quicker, because this guy's taking forever. I don't know who it is he's used in the past. And he said he's afraid because the other guy's already working it out. And I'm like, you can use anybody you want, but he's afraid of getting his credit pulled again. Is it true that the more you get your credit pulled, your credit rating goes down?
Potentially. I mean, usually if it's within a 30-day period, it's treated as the same inquiry. So no, their credit score will not. But if it's over 30 days, they can lose 1 to 2 points. So ultimately,
Oh,
1 to
okay.
2 points, you know, if they have decent credit, it really shouldn't impact them. So, you know.
Yeah, he has good credit and everything, but you know, he's trying to, but he, you know, works for himself. There's a couple of things, whatever. But so if it was just pulled like a week ago and you guys pulled it, you know, on Monday, it should be fine.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
then encourage it to tell him, listen, get a second opinion. Sometimes this lender could, you know, not only give you the service and the efficiency and the speed, but also, you know, something to compare interest rates just to see, you know, who you're more comfortable with if you don't have anything to compare it to, especially if they're working with someone that's outside of our circle.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Randy has a question.
Oh, let me unmute, sorry.
You're
Still
muted.
muted.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yep.
Oh, are you writing loans for people who are K-1s, you know, people who are not W-2'd, you know, partners? Some of the partners are really, K-1s are really contract partners in reality, but they get a K-1 based on their business. How's that working?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's great about my team and I is that we actually know how to calculate self-employed income really well, all different types of income. So we don't necessarily need to wait for an underwriter to review income to issue a pre-approval. My team and I are very qualified to do that. So not only that we can use K-1 income, but we know how to actually calculate it correctly where we can add back certain things, take away. We make sure that the income is 100% accurate so there's no surprises once it gets to underwriting.
Do you
So,
need
yeah.
like 2 years, or do you need a certain number of years? Because these are like lawyers and
Yeah.
various people like that.
It depends. Typically, if it's not a jumbo loan, we run it through our automated underwriting system, and sometimes
Right.
it's asked for 1 year. So if the 1 year is more favorable, because if we have to average out over a 2-year period, sometimes it could drive the income down if the year before was a little bit lower. So if 1 year is more favorable, we'll run it through to see if we can only get away with 1 year. But sometimes it requires 2. Jumbo loans will require 2 years. So
Right.
what we basically do is average it out over a 24-month period. And then with COVID-19, a lot of the times with self-employed borrowers, one of the changes that'll come about is that not only that they're going to want a year-to-date P&L, but they're going to want to see deposits going into the accounts to make sure that the business is still functioning and working during
Okay.
this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions for Kathy before we get started? That was very helpful. Anybody? All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on. Joanne's going to tell a few jokes while I figure out how to share my screen. So, Joe, it's all you. And thank you, Felix.
My pleasure, guys. Have a nice weekend.
You too. You too.
Thank
Feel free
you.
to stay on if
Take
you
care.
like. Joe,
I don't have anything.
that one wasn't that funny.
I have no new material, sorry.
Come on.
Natalie's laughing. She's thinking of something funny.
Well, now.
Hey, you want to hear a few pips out?
Yeah.
Pip, pip, pip.
There you go.
You love it. You
That
gotta
was
have fun.
funny.
all good.
Hooray.
You're buying me time.
Yeah, I used to be a comedian, do a little comedy.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're looking handsome.
No, come on. That goes without saying. That's everything. All right, so we're here to talk about our reopening. If I can get this to move. All right, so the first thing I want to do is start off by thanking a few different groups of people, but you know, to kind of set the stage for this, we're going to talk step by step about how we plan to reopen. It's really good news in an environment, you know, that has been kind of sad and kind of tricky. You know, this is, I think, a bright spot, but I think we need to handle it very carefully because I know there's going to be half of you that are excited that we're opening and half of you that are a little bit nervous that, you know, is it too soon? You know, are we going to be safe? So we want to, you know, it's a delicate balance. So I'm going to walk into that in great detail, and I'd love to get your feedback. But I wanted to start off by, are Kathy and Felix still on by any chance? I can't see because I'm looking at my screen. But anyway, I want to start out by thanking people like Kathy and Felix. They jumped off already, so the heck with them. But really what I want to say is, during this crisis, our partners have really acted like partners. Carnegie Title, Carnegie Home and Auto, Atlantic Home Loans, Bond Street, and all our other partners have been amazing. They've really jumped, they've really stepped up. They've provided additional training. They've really acted not like vendors, but like partners. They've been very supportive. They haven't come back to us and asked to renegotiate terms on anything. They've really been there to help our agents and to support our company financially. So I really feel like we owe them, a debt of gratitude. People are always telling me that sometimes they give a lot of feedback and it's loud when I'm talking. So can you guys hear me okay? Have I fixed that problem? Joe says yes.
Yes. Yes.
So
That's good.
next, I want to thank our staff. Our staff, has been out of sight, but they certainly haven't been out of mind. They've been working like crazy behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, I guess, on Zoom as well. So you've seen them, but really, I feel like our staff they're our frontline heroes. There are people that are the front line of what's going on, and they're out there helping our agents every day. And I think sometimes we forget they're going through all the same stuff that you're going through in terms of the agents. They have all the same problems of, trying to get to work and deal with kids at home and deal with family members that are sick. Yet they're always there to pick up the phone and help, have a smile on their face, and, really try to serve our agents in every way possible. So I really wanted to thank our staff. And then most of all, I'm incredibly impressed with how our agents have handled everything. You guys have been through, so much, and you've, plugged away during this process. You've kept working hard. A lot of you, I'm amazed, you show up for these Zooms every day. You're not only kind of surviving during this time, but you're upgrading your skills. And I think you're all poised to really, take some territory as we start to open up. There are a lot of your competitors that were sitting at home, sheltering in place and scared and, watching CNN 18 out of 24 hours a day, whereas you guys have been on Zooms, you've been making your calls, you're upgrading your skills, you're talking to your sphere, you're making care calls. So, you're going to see the benefit of that now that we're starting to open up. So, I just wanted to thank you for working so hard and really congratulate you on being super professional during what was a very difficult time. So we're really going to get into the nitty gritty, but just quickly, I wanted to congratulate ourselves on being number one. Can you guys read that?
No, too little.
Fine print? Okay. Oh, no, that's not our disclaimer. That's what our competitors do. I wanted to show you that, what the team leaders will tell you, my pet peeve is that every company other than Keller Williams seems to be number one. And it drives me crazy because, to be honest with you, and I know we have a couple people not from our company on the call, but we love you. But we see some of those things out there and then we dig into it, and they're number one in some categories that I feel like are a little disingenuous sometimes. So this is a true post I saw on Facebook at a company that was number one in red homes sold with 4 or more easements only on Wednesdays during the dry season with more than 100% cash down. They have these like crazy, disclaimers. So, to show you the real numbers taken directly from the MLS, every one of the top 5 offices in the New Jersey MLS are Keller Williams offices, full stop. That's from the source. So there's no skewing the statistics. There's no spin. So when you see that out there, that somebody else is number one, again, it's the red houses on the left side of the street on a rainy day. We are clearly the number one company, and it's because we have the best people. It's because of the people, on this Zoom call today. And to get even a little bit more specific, these are just some of the towns where we're number one. Most of them were number one in both transactions and volume. Some of them it's either or, but I would say out of all of these, there's maybe only 2 where we're not number one in both. So Tenafly, Lyndhurst, Fairlawn, Glenrock, Hawthorne. I can never say that word. My kids make fun of me for the way I say Hawthorne. Mahwah, Edgewater, Northvale, Norwood, Oradell, Paramus, Ridgewood, Rivervale, Saddle River, Midland Park, Waldwick, Montvale, Demers, Ridgewood, Ridgefield, Wyckoff, Ramsey, and there's a host of other towns. These are the ones that I just had time to throw up on the screen. So I think you guys should take, a second to congratulate yourselves on an incredible, performance, during this difficult time. We've been number one before the crisis. We were number one during the crisis. And I think we're really poised to even, do better things, because I think we're one of the few companies that stayed together, worked really hard during this difficult time, and we're going to come through this a lot better than we went into it. And I actually asked some of the team leaders to unmute themselves to see if they had anything to say on the performance. Colleen or Resham, did you guys have anything you wanted to add?
So of course, I have a lot to say about Valley. The one
You
thing
have
that
a lot to say about everything, Colleen.
The one thing that these statistics don't show is I've got 40 New York agents and over $100 million in production that doesn't show on that NJMLS report, including the commercials. So I want to really thank my agents at Valley. We have moved up in the NJMLS rankings, and we have left behind the blue and white sign company that was always ahead of us, way behind. It's been over a year now that they don't.
Coldwell Banker. This is
And they keep falling lower and lower. So my Valley agents, my hat's off to you. And remember, everybody that is from BCP, how much business we do in New York State. City Views, if you want me to say anything about Fort Lee, also does a lot of business in New York City. They got an award at Keller Williams Family Reunion last year for being the fastest growing commercial division at Keller Williams. So a lot to say about these great companies. Tenafly, I don't know if Eileen.
Before you move on, I think it's a good time. We have a lot of people on this Zoom to let them know that, if you come across a commercial deal and you don't know what to do with it, we have a lot of qualified commercial agents. Rather than trying to handle it yourself, there are so many people that do this day in and day out. It's what they do for a living. It's their expertise. Rather than taking a chance that maybe you can get it done, maybe you can't. There's a ton of qualified commercial agents in every single office. So please, take the time to look for those commercial deals and then refer them out.
And then like
Hi,
Valley.
it's Mike from Keller Williams, and I'm not calling.
Hey, Mike. Hey, he's making his call, so you can't fault him there.
All right, so I'm still going here. On City Views, also that number at NJMLS, which is a beautiful number, doesn't reflect their Hudson County deals. So they do a lot of business down in Hudson County. So congratulations to everybody at City Views. And Tenafly is just doing great under Eileen's tutelage. Our new team leader over there, who just stepped in in about February and got hit with the new way that we do business. But I was looking at some statistics, and in this past month in May, they were number 2 in under contracts in the whole MLS. So that just gives you an idea of where they're going.
That's
so
awesome.
Congratulations to everybody.
All right, cool. Anyone else have anything to share? Resham, anybody else before I keep moving?
I have so much to share, but I want to share a couple of things about Rutherford and Ridgewood. One of them being, despite the current environment, Keller Williams Park Views has outpaced the MLS by 35%. And listings sold remain flat year over year, but we are ahead of the MLS by 25% in the month of April and May. So Keller Williams Park Views, you're killing it. And I want to
That's
share.
awesome. For those of you that don't know, Park Views is Rutherford.
It's Rutherford. And Ridgewood is outpacing the MLS in every category. And those lowers will be available on our Weebly site, 201-445-4300, in every city, every single category. So it's a huge congratulations and kudos to our amazing agents who are outperforming the MLS in every category. It's unheard of. So
awesome. Rachel, when you say lore, what does that mean?
Oh, it's language of real estate.
So that's a report you put out every month, or how's that work?
Yes, it's a report. It's basically giving our agents, who go on listing presentations, buyer consultations, to show them how their office is performing and how they're performing. And in every town, almost in every town, we're number 1, but also in the entire MLS, we're outperforming in every category. That's big. That's huge.
That is huge. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anyone else before we keep moving? All right. I'm pausing for effect here. I'm just letting that all sink in. That's the only reason that I'm not talking. All right, so this is a live question. I need at least one answer. Somebody on mute. What was the purpose of the shutdown? Anybody want to share their thoughts?
To prevent the virus from really getting or causing lots more deaths.
Excellent answer. I mean, I think part of the issue, this has become like almost a political partisan, debate. And some people feel like the shutdown was meant to go on forever to protect us from getting the virus, but that was never the intention. The intention of the shutdown. So I have the answer here. I know it in my head, but I just want to pull it up. It was really just to slow the spread. It wasn't to eliminate the virus or protect people 100%. Even the most cautious people in politics will say that, they knew we were going to reopen before there was a vaccine, before we were 100% safe. The idea was just to, slow the spread, not eliminate the virus, but kind of get our government and really our medical people, prepared so that they could have a fair shot against this virus. So, if we didn't do the shutdown and we had an enormous amount of infections all at the same time, we would overwhelm the hospitals. We wouldn't have enough beds. We wouldn't have enough ventilators. We wouldn't have enough PPE. So the idea was to just kind of slow it down, but knowing there were going to be constant infections, for the foreseeable future. So we always knew eventually we'd have to reopen in stages with new safety guidelines, while at the same time trying to isolate, the medically fragile. And have to prepare our, to live our life and run our business, and manage the virus. Let me move this, bear with me. The idea is that we have to prepare to live, in kind of uncertain times. We have to manage the risk of the virus, and that's a very personal thing. Everybody's going to have a different feeling about that. So how does this relate to real estate? Luckily, unlike some of the businesses, like the poor people who might own a restaurant or work in a restaurant, we have, or real estate agents in New York, we've not been completely shut down like many others. So we've been able to do business, sort of tentatively. And right now business is starting to pick up, and it's my feeling that, it's now time to get back to business, but we need to do it safely. And that's sort of, what we're here to talk about today. So I had one more live question, and then you guys can not have to participate going forward. But if you looked at the past week, the number of homes that have been shown, if you already know the answer, don't say it, but would you guess that showings have been down by 50% or 80% over the past week? Anybody have a guess?
50.
We're getting an F for audience participation.
50.
50?
Neither.
Neither? Did somebody say neither?
I say neither too.
What's the answer? What percentage would you guess?
More. It's higher.
All right.
It's less. It's much less.
All right. So this is from Showing Time that tracks, all of the showings across New Jersey, year over year, week over week, month over month. And I don't know how well you can see the graph, but the sort of trough there is on April 1st of this year. The darker line above is 2019. And you can see, over the past week, we've actually surpassed the number of showings that we had in 2020. So not only are we back kind of to the norm, we're actually showing more homes over the past week than we were at this time last year.
But is that physical?
If there's anything in our business that's an indicator that it is time to get back to work, so, I don't want to say whether you like it or not, but I think you do have to figure out a way to get back to business, because obviously the overwhelming majority of your competitors and agents, also within KW, but also outside of KW, are out there working and showing lots of homes. So if you want to maintain your market share or hopefully increase it, you know, we're going to need to figure out a way in this uncertain time to get out there and show homes and market properties, but, you know, do it in a safe manner. And again, those are not, you know, Keller Williams statistics. That's statewide from showing time. So the governor, you know, we understand that he's going to make a statement on June 6th where he's going to lift, we think, lift the ban or lift the stay-at-home order. So what can we expect? So we're going to expect to see face masks in public for the foreseeable future. I know that's become a political statement, but it, you know, I think it's unavoidable that you're going to need to wear face masks. You expect social distancing to be in place for the foreseeable future. I would expect that we're going to be traveling less, and it's going to take much longer when you do need to travel. I saw a report that they're telling people that, you know, instead of getting to the airport an hour earlier, that they're recommending you get to the airport 4 hours earlier. You know, then they later retracted that and said 3. But, you know, things are going to be different, but it doesn't mean that we can't continue to do business. You know, lots of things will be different. You know, this new normal is probably going to be in place. Again, I'm not a you know, somebody, a government pundit, but I can't imagine that things get completely back to normal until not only we have a vaccine, but we have a vaccine that's something that can be produced in mass quantities and you know, gotten out to, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. So even the most optimistic estimates say, you know, that's going to be a year from now. So kind of, we need to be prepared to be able to do business, but also do it in a way that's different from what we've done before. To me, the most important message of this whole thing, we saw it at the beginning of the shutdown when we were debating, you know, do we continue to work? What do we do? Do we, you know, ask agents not to show homes at all, or do we allow them to? There was a huge divide, you know, in our company where people were sort of, you know, tearing at each other a little bit. There was half of the people that said business should go on as usual, and half the people saying, you're putting my life in danger. You know, fast forward 3 months, we know a lot more about the virus. But we still don't know everything. And it's really going to come down to a very personal decision, how you operate going forward. You know, obviously there are things that are, you know, not up for debate. If you're ill, you know, you shouldn't be coming to the office. If you're in a public space where you're within 6 feet of people, you need to wear a mask. But there are going to be some things that are gray area. And the last thing I want to see is our agents sort of, you know, fighting with each other and tearing each other apart over these issues. You don't know, you know, there's one of my favorite quotes is everybody's fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So you may be upset at that one person because, you know, they went out and showed a home and you didn't think they should, but you might not realize they need that check because they have, you know, an elderly parent who's sick and they need to pay their bills, or they have a son who's diabetic and they need one more commission check, you know, to pay for his medication. So, you know, I just really, if there's anything that comes across as we reopen, we're not going to get this 100% right. We're going to make mistakes, but be kind and know that not everybody's going to agree with you. Just try to be empathetic and try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. No one is ever going to 100% do what you think is right. You know, this is such a divisive issue, even more so than politics. And just, you know, show some grace to your fellow agents and to staff members, please. So sort of back to what, you know, this Zoom is kind of built for, going through step by step what we're going to do. So the governor says he'll only allow businesses to open if they can maintain a properly sanitized environment. And, you know, we want to look at what the requirements are set out by the government and then, you know, 10x it. We want to be the safest environment that anyone could have, not only because we, you know, mainly because we care so much about our staff and our agents, but also that can become, you know, a selling point. Again, that's secondary, but, you know, people are going to want to come to the business where they feel the most safe. So some of these other companies, if they're not spending the money that we are to keep our people safe and going through the extremes, then, you know, maybe that's a reason that people want to join Keller Williams. So from the time that the governor lifts the order, we're expecting it to happen on June 6th. One of our operating principals has ties to the government and to the governor, and he's telling us that on this June 6th statement, he's going to lift the stay-at-home order. So assuming that happens, it's going to take 3 to 5 days to get the office ready for reopening. You know, we're going to have most of the things I'm going to talk about in place by then. but we're going to start with our staff. The staff's going to get in there first before we allow agents in, so they can see, you know, how the setup works, how things are going to be done. So not only they can, you know, maintain their safety, but really get a sense for how they can keep the agents safe. One thing I want to make clear to our staff, and I should have done this, I was sort of, somebody said, wow, you're going to, you know, launch this reopening plan to the agents without talking to the staff first. I probably should have met with the staff first. That's my bad. But I do want to make it clear to everybody who's on salary with Keller Williams, whether or not you return now or a month from now or 2 months from now is 100% voluntary. You know, everybody has a different situation, a different level of risk that they're willing to assume, and a different setup at home. You know, if you have an elderly parent that you're caring for, or if you have children who are, you know, you need to be home for to help them homeschool, you know, we may not expect to have you back anytime soon. There are other people that may be chomping at the bit to get back. So it's a personal decision for all of our staff. You know, you'll only come back when you're ready, and we 100% support that. So here are some of the steps that we've put in place. This is what I think is a very elegant solution that we've dubbed the Keep Ellie Safe machine. And it's something that we're going to be installing in all of the offices. It's a plexiglass setup that's, you know, not just one-sided. It kind of protects Ellie all the way around, and will protect the people at our front desk, so that, you know, our directors of first impression can feel safe. You know, if anybody is going to have some kind of exposure, it's going to be the person sitting at the front desk who's going to have people coming up to their desk asking questions. So, you know, we've already installed this in our Valley office, and it'll be installed in all of the BCP offices going forward. So that was our first step. The other thing we're going to be doing is a deep cleaning and industrial strength sanitation prior to reopening. That's going to be done in all the offices. And if we find out that somebody has been tested positive that's been in the office, then we'll redo the cleaning, you know, again and again. You know, hopefully that won't be an issue, but, you know, rest assured, if we find out somebody's been exposed, the people in the hazmat suits will return. I assure you of that. Some of the other steps that we've already taken or are in the process, we've installed the Keep Ellie Safe machines. We've ordered standalone sanitizer, you know, stand-up sanitizer machines that are contactless, that people can go up and sanitize their hands. We've ordered a supply of hand sanitizer and an assortment of wipes and sprays to ensure that the office is sanitized properly. We're installing stickers on the floor wherever possible. It's going to be like you see in supermarkets. It's going to be sort of one-way traffic, so people aren't bumping into each other and spreading droplets. Additional things that we're going to be doing, we're going to be maintaining an open door policy. And that doesn't mean that the team leader is open for questions. It means that we're just going to keep all the doors open. You know, that's studies show, you know, door handles or some of the places where you're going most likely to contract the virus. Face masks are going to be required in all the common areas. If you are somebody who is lucky enough to have an office all to yourself, you know, whether you continue to wear the face mask in the office while you're there alone is going to be up to you. If somebody enters the office to speak with you, you are going to be required to put it back on. You know, one of the less fun announcements is we're going to suspend having coffee and water in the refrigerator available, just because, you know, those are three places where germs can spread. If you have people constantly touching the same coffee machine, touching the pods that go in the coffee machine, putting their lips on their glass and then putting it up to the water machine, putting things in and out of the refrigerator. So, you know, that's temporary. I don't know how long that'll last, but expect when we do reopen, you'll be need to bringing in your own water, your own coffee. And if you're bringing food, you'll have to eat it before it gets too warm. There's going to be limited capacity in private offices. Alyssa, this image is for you. I know you're a big fan of The Office. So these are some of the more tricky things that we're still working through. If you have an assigned office and you're a one-person office, then it's not an issue. What we're trying to figure out is if there's an office and it has 4 people, can we reasonably expect that they're going to be 6 feet apart the entire time? So we're trying to come up with a system both, you know, financially in terms of what we'll eventually charge for offices and how we rotate that. So that's something we're working on. Hopefully that makes sense. You know, if you have had in the past a 5-person office with people jammed in there, if you're all in there at the same time, I don't think you'll be able to socially distance. So we're gonna, you know, we're working on a plan for that. You know, you don't want to be touching things that, you know, dozens of other people are touching on a daily basis. So at least at the outset, there's going to be no general use of a computer. There's not going to be any common area computers at the beginning. We're looking at some things where they're, as I mentioned below about the copiers, where they're a one-time use cellophane, where you can put it over the keyboard, use it once and get rid of it. We're going to see if that's practical. If it is, maybe we can do that. But until then, we just encourage you to bring in your laptop when you come into the office. In those common areas, there's going to be limited space there as well, because it's going to be hard to social distance. So we're going to figure out a solution for that. I know I'm ripping through this really quick. I just want to get through it all, and then I'm sure there'll be questions. For the copiers, we're going to have one-time use disposable gloves available next to the copier, so you don't have to touch it with your hands. And also that cellophane overlay. There's a thing, it sort of looks like, you know, standard, you know, cellophane that you would get at home, but you can attach it and it stays stationary. You rip it off, you put it over, then you throw it away, and the next person comes and does it again. So that may be a better solution even than the gloves. Testing, you can see there's a photo of our own Joanne Baker getting tested in her car safely there. We're going to encourage people to get tested both for the coronavirus and the antibody test before returning. As of a couple of days ago, our plan was to require people to have the test and show us the results, because we just thought, hey, we want to be out there doing over and above protection. But our legal team has advised us that, in fact, my idea is not legal, so I can't do that. You know, if we can find out that it is legal, I think that may be over the top, but I'd rather be over the top and protect more people and have some people annoyed that they have to do this than put people at risk. So I'm still looking into that. If there's some way that we can legally require people to be tested before returning to the office, I'm going to do that. And I don't normally sort of go against the grain and say I'm doing this regardless of what anyone else says, but that's one thing I feel strongly that the most important thing when history is written a year from now, as much as you may be annoyed by the inconveniences, you're going to feel good about the company that kept you most safe. So even if it's an inconvenience, if there's a way to say, let's get everybody tested before they come back to the office, I really think that's the best way. And for those of you who haven't been tested, you know, the stories about long lines and sitting for 2 hours are gone. You know, there are testing facilities all over Bergen County where you can be in and out in a half hour to get tested. So, you know, even if it's not related to coming back to the office, I encourage everybody to get tested just to have your own peace of mind and knowing you're not spreading it to your at-risk, you know, parents or elderly folks that you may share a home or an office with. If you do test positive, one thing we are allowed to do is to ask you then to confirm that you have a negative test before you return. So if you tested positive within a month of our reopening, you cannot just show back up at the office. You're going to need to demonstrate that you've had a second test that shows that you're no longer positive. This goes without saying, even if you're feeling slightly ill, this is my policy before the coronavirus. No one wants to be around a sick person and catch it, whether it's a cold, the flu, and certainly not something that can kill you or your relatives. So if you're feeling even slightly off, do not come into the office. If you fly, we're going to ask you to basically self-quarantine from the office for a 14-day period. I think this is the last slide. When you're out there showing homes, we're asking you to wear face masks, have booties, and gloves when you're showing homes, and also to make these materials available at your listing. More than anything else, this requirement is for your own safety and your own health, and we think that should be enough. But if that's not enough to sort of scare you into taking these precautions, you know, I'll tell you the story of one agent in one of our market centers. She showed up, did all the right things to a showing of a listing that was happened to also be a Keller Williams listing, asked the people, you know, did they have gloves? Did they have masks? I think the adults did, but one or two of the children didn't. She allowed them into the house without the gloves. They noticed the sellers when they came home, via the doorbell cam and the nanny cam, which also had audio. I didn't even know those things had audio. They could hear the conversation, but it was basically verified that this person did not, practice safe showing protocol and let children into the home without gloves, without a mask, or actually I think it was one glove on each hand. They were touching things within the house, and rightfully so, this family was mortified that Keller Williams put their young children and the parents as well at risk, and they went ballistic. They're saying they're going to sue Keller Williams. They're suing the agent personally, and they've even been reaching out to the agent personally, making her life a living nightmare. So you should do this because it's the right thing to do for your own safety, for the safety of your clients. But if you're not, for the small minority of you that are not willing to do this for your own health and safety, do it because one lawsuit can put you out of business. Just defending a lawsuit can cost $10,000 or $20,000. If somebody, God forbid, gets sick, it could be in the seven figures. So it's not something to mess around with. Again, do it because it's the right thing to do. But even if that doesn't motivate you, do it because you don't want to, you don't want to commit financial suicide. So I believe that's the end of my presentation on reopening Bergen County Partners. But I'd love to see what questions there are. I'm sure people have some feelings about some of the policies that we're putting in place. And the other thing I'd like to say is we've done a ton of research on this. We've talked to, people across the country from, Brian Fair owns 10 market centers in Atlanta, and he's one of the top people in the country. He went through in detail with us how he's doing this. We went through it with the region. We've talked to tons of people. We've done a lot of research on how we should handle this. And this is the plan we've come up with, but it's definitely fluid. And it's also subject to your feedback. We'd love to hear if there are things that we should be doing, that are not on this list. So I'd love to open it up to any of you that have some ideas of what could be done, to improve our plan, or if there are parts of the plan that you just think are stupid, So what do you guys?
Al, are there any protocols for the building itself? I'm in City Views.
There definitely are protocols for the building. In fact, in City Views, which I kind of liked, an agent, and may have been more than one agent, entered the building, and we got a call that, that they had entered the building and that was not acceptable. So, at least I know in the City Views Fort Lee building, they're monitoring it, what they're doing to disinfect and monitor the common area. That we don't know, but that's an excellent question. And
Al, I can speak to that.
Joe is our reopening czar. So can you put that on your list? Because that is something I haven't thought of. Do you know? I'm assuming we don't know that answer, but it's something.
Al, I can speak to that. We actually did receive about a 6 or 7 page printout of what the building is doing, because luckily for us in City Views, our building is managed by a pretty large property management company. So we'll definitely be happy to share that with all of our agents. They're taking some additional protocols in the common areas. They've also changed the way that the air flows so that more is coming from the outside as opposed to being recirculated. So once we have the final steps, we'll share that with everyone in addition to all of the steps we're taking within our own office.
And Valley has the same. The building has a couple pages of protocol. I know that they put some self-cleaning things on the handles. Our cafe is going to be just grab and go, an honor system from now on. They've installed hand sanitizer, but we can share. I know that Ellie has, has it all, and we can share that with everybody before we go back also.
So, Joe, again, you're heading this up. So I guess I think what would be reasonable, in addition to coming up with a plan, eventually we're going to share our written plan with everybody. Maybe if we can get a written plan of what, what's the policy in the common areas for each of the buildings that we have our offices in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Joe?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And one thing I want to encourage you guys is, again, we want to be, without being overly restrictive, we want to sort of set the bar for protecting you more than anyone else. So this is our initial plan, but regardless of the expense, if there's something you see on the news or hear that another company's doing that you feel like would add to the safety, we really want to know. Either, you know, today would be ideal, but if you just happen to see something on CNN, hey, there's a, you know, gift shop in Arkansas that has this system that really keeps their people safe, let us know. We really want to make that part of our value proposition that, hey, you know, our company cares about our people, which we do, and it's a safe place to come to work. So if there's anything we're not doing, you're not being difficult by bringing it to our attention. You're really helping us. Elise, do we have any other questions in the chat?
People are just talking about sharing ideas about where to get masks and booties and gloves. Are there any other specific questions? I see, wait, are we required to put in our listings when a seller has a camera set up in the home? I don't believe that's the case.
Say that again?
Are they required to specify in their listing if a camera has set up in the home? And I can answer that. To my knowledge, it's not required.
I think it is.
Sally, are you on the line? No? And that's Colleen, who's also a broker.
I think am I unmuted?
No, you are.
No, you're apparently in San Francisco.
Yes, it's lovely here this time of year. I'm not positive about if it has to be disclosed, but what I would say to our agents is you should all think that in every home you go to, you are being filmed and there's audio. Just assume that it's there and train your buyers to not make negative comments or comments that could, or even sometimes positive ones, that could end up working against them. You should just assume that you're being taped.
Yep.
Do you have any sense though, is it a requirement to disclose that?
I just looked it up.
I don't know.
And from the New Jersey Realtors, it says that they're not required, but that they informally suggest that agents do advise when there's cameras in the home, but it's not legally required according to the New Jersey Board of Realtors.
And can you tell from that, is it advised verbally or is it put it actually in the listing like a warning?
It just says agent does not have a duty to disclose, but it is informally suggested that they do so. So I would disclose.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Lisa. I have another question. Can you, E&O insurance, does it cover showings for COVID lawsuits? Does it cover COVID showing lawsuits?
I don't think it would.
That's a Baker question. Joanne Baker?
No, unfortunately, it does not.
No.
Okay, for agents that have desk fees, would the desk fee be the same?
That's something we're working on. I don't think it would be fair for it to be the same if we're going to limit your access to the office. So if you're in a 4-person office and we're saying you can only have 2 people, we're probably going to have to work something out. If you have a single and you could use it as much as you want, then it would probably be the same. I can say today is the 29th. I don't see this being lifted until at best case scenario, the first week of June. So we certainly won't be charging anybody for June. And then we'll have a month to figure out how we're going to handle it.
Okay. Do we have to have booties, masks, and gloves at our listings? Also, are we held responsible if another realtor comes in and doesn't follow protocol when we aren't there?
I'm just a PowerPoint guy. Joanne and Sally, what do you think?
You could be. I mean, we were fortunate in the case that that Al talked about before, find fault with our listing agent because she had gone over what the protocols would be. And unfortunately, the other person didn't follow them. So he wasn't angry with the listing agent, but you know what? That's one person. they could hold you responsible if you're the listing agent. Many of our listing agents are meeting the other realtor and their clients at the house just to ensure, not to take them through, but just to make sure they're properly attired before they go in. If you have a seller who's really paranoid about it, I would suggest doing that.
I mean, the thing I would say about that is, you know, this is new territory for everybody, so we're learning as we go. Maybe it would make sense to have an attorney on one of these Zoom sessions going forward to kind of, you know, everybody asks these questions. But the one thing I would say from experience, it doesn't matter if you're right. I mean, people can sue you for any reason, so you need to make sure you're going above and beyond whatever the requirements are, because even if somebody files a lawsuit against you that's frivolous and makes no sense, you're going to wind up paying $10,000 just to defend yourself, even against something that is totally of no merit.
To the same theme, are booties a requirement? I've seen the argument made it makes more things that people are touching staying in the home.
I'm not trying to say that again.
Are booties a requirement?
I think that, you know, the best practices are, people are saying it is a requirement. I don't know why it would make it worse. I mean, the idea is they're one-time use. So if you use them once and you throw them out, are they saying, I didn't understand the question. Is that in the case of reusing them?
I don't know. Michael, do you want to unmute and ask your question? I'm seeing a lot of like booty comments.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So typically booties are, yes, they're one use, but people take them off and leave them in the house. So I've seen the argument made that booties provide more stuff that outside people have touched that's staying in someone's home, potentially as a higher germ risk rather than just not touching more things in the house. So
yeah,
that's.
I thought that, and Joe, you probably know better than me, but I thought the idea was that you take the booties with you.
Yeah, but that's not what people do. That's the, like, for years in real estate, people don't take their booties with them. I'm not saying that it just has to be clear if it's a requirement, because I would say not to, you know, it leaves so many people, you end up scattered all over a house after a showing.
No, I have a suggestion.
You know,
I have a suggestion.
Consider the best practices, you know, across our region. It's what they're recommending. It's what KWRI is recommending. But, you know, I guess it's something we can look into. You know, we are sort of taking them at their word that they've done their research and that's the best thing to do. But, you know,
I just want to be clear. I'm all for everything, you know, as far as gloves, masks, you know, all these things, but I wouldn't.
Booty, I get it.
Yeah, I just wouldn't feel comfortable.
I have a suggestion about the booties. I have a suggestion for the booties. I just ordered. Hi, Elise. I ordered these booties, which are automatic. You can get them for. I just ordered them. It's a machine where you get booties. You put your foot in there and it wraps the booty around your foot. You don't even have to touch the booties, and you just put a foot into the machine and it wraps it, and then. It's $12 for 100 disposable booties and the machine. So if you go to thewish.com or whatever, or just Google disposable machine for booties, whatever, it comes up, and you can just have them put a little, you know, garbage bag or garbage next to the booties and say, when you leave, please dispose of your booties. Simple as that.
I also see, and to answer your question, you said, where can you get the machine? She said, if you Google disposable booty machine, then it will come up. Are we having hand sanitizer stations in the office? Yes, definitely. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments to make it clear in the showing instructions that these expectations will be set and that they need to take everything with them. And also, thank you, Alyssa, linked the machine in chat. And also just, I'm seeing comments to hang a sign on the door so that way when people come in, you know, it's not just like an open house where you provided booties to prevent the carpets from getting dirty. You know, this is kind of different, and I think that people hopefully will respect that. I did see a question up before. Someone had asked, are we planning to continue to do office meetings and classes virtually, as they would rather not come back to the office.
Yeah. Yes, I don't see, large scale. What's that noise?
Unmuted her.
You muted her? Okay. I don't see, large scale training sessions or meetings happening again for months. I mean, for a long time. So yeah, everything's going to be done virtually for a while.
Can I say something? I know my customers are afraid of the booties because they're slippery on the steps and stuff like that. So we've been asked instead to remove our shoes, which is probably better. Or
It's not sanitary though.
Yeah.
I want to say, I was just told by a nurse who works in the hospital, and she was told it's actually, by the time she walks outside, if there's anything on her shoes, it's wiped off. So technically, I mean, I would never take my shoes off right now in this kind of situation and walk in a house barefoot or in my socks. I prefer the booties, but without the booties, it's safer than, I would say, no booties or no shoes, rather.
Who would have known after an hour-long discussion the big topic would be booties? I had no idea. Any other booty questions, Elise?
I think we covered most of them.
Okay.
But the problem is, you know what? The one that Alyssa just sent us the link, it arrives July 20th to August 10th. So that it's useless now.
I mean, you gotta do your research. I'm sure there's other providers. I've seen a lot of them, and the same goes for anything.
Yeah, whoever just got it. Who was that? Where did you get it from? Was it
Ragini?
Ragini?
I think that
it was from wish.com. So if you go there, they have it
in the chat.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes up when you Google it. I know Amazon is pretty easy for a lot of people, but that's just to give you kind of an example of what we're talking about. But if you just Google it, there are hundreds of them. And I also did just Google non-slip booties, and there are ones that have rubber markings on the bottom so that they're non-slip options as well. And I'll put that in the chat too.
Don't be defensive, Alyssa, just because Karen said your link was useless,
Well, thanks, Al.
Are we going to share this presentation with them so they can review it?
I think so.
Okay. And I guess just, again, are we saying that we have to provide gloves and booties?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Alyssa. And for the printer rooms and computer rooms, I know that Al did cover that in the beginning. Again, guys, we're recording this, we'll upload it. Al, if you want to touch again on just the safety precautions in the office. People are asking about printers, workrooms, and bathrooms.
I didn't cover bathrooms, Joe. I don't know if we have anything specifically to say about bathrooms. And printers I think are kind of no touch. I can't think what we need to do with printers, but copiers where you need to touch things or ideas to have disposable gloves available there. And then there's sort of like the automatic booting machine. There are cellophane overlays that will attach to a machine. You pull it off, you cut it, you put it over the things you need to touch. You touch whatever you need to touch. You rip it off, you throw it out, then the next person comes. So that's sort of an idea, either gloves and or the cellophane overlay. Bathrooms, I don't know if we have an answer, but I'll defer to Joe. Was there one I missed? Workstation, we're not at least initially going to have access to computer workstations because those are, potentially a hotbed of virus. So we're encouraging everybody to just bring in a laptop to begin with. And for workstations that in the common area, we're still sorting that out. Maybe we'll have it available. We'll rope off every other one. That's something we're working on.
Are we allowed to have appointments with customers at the office or only agents allowed?
I don't remember what we figured out on that, Joe. Do you remember?
Agents only, no clients in the office. And bathrooms, I'm sure we're going to have to adhere to the rules of the buildings in most cases. And in offices where the bathrooms are a part of the office, we'll hopefully have, cleaning supplies in there, maybe covers for the toilets. We're going to do everything we possibly can to keep it a safe, clean environment.
Anything else, Elise?
Are we keeping track of how many agents are in the office? Meaning if I have to run in to make copies or do something else and we have the maximum amount of people, what happens?
Yeah, we're working on coming up with a number of the percentage density, but the feedback we've had from the offices that have opened up, it's been very underwhelming in the number of people that want to come back. So offices where, if you say we want it to be at 25% capacity, they're having 3 people show up on a given day in an office of 400. So we don't anticipate that being a problem, but we are going to set some number where it cannot be above that. And again, there's going to be no there's going to be no meetings or training sessions for the foreseeable future.
Is there a maximum number of people that can visit a house or showing? Slash, are we supposed to tell the realtor showing our listings that they can only bring 1 buyer?
With those, we're deferring to whatever the MLS and NAR recommendation is. That's not a Keller Williams thing. I think Sally can probably speak to that.
Well, Governor Murphy has not changed his position that it's one-on-one showings, although he did say one-on-one could encompass a couple. But people shouldn't be bringing their kids, their brother-in-law, their mother, their father. That should not be happening.
So one-on-one means 1-on-2, I guess, technically, if you can bring a couple in, is that?
Well, yeah, 1 person or 2 if it's a couple.
Got it. Okay.
In the financial matter for the agents, are we doing anything regarding CO money, extension on caps, etc.?
What's CO money? What does that mean?
I'm not sure. Oscar, I know that you have a lot of questions. Do you want to talk?
Company dollar. Company dollar.
Say it again. What's the question, Joe?
In the financial matter for the agents, are we doing anything regarding company dollar, extension on caps, etc.?
At the moment, no. Again, to give you guys a sense of where we are, our revenues are down, depending on the office, 60 to 80%. Yet we've made a commitment to keep our entire staff employed during this time. So our expenses are the same as they were, but our revenue has basically fallen off the table. So, we're losing money at this time. So it's, I'll be honest, for us to extend caps or make deals with agents would require us to lay staff off. And that's really not what we want to do. And we don't think it's going to come to that because we think things are bouncing back. But what we have talked about doing, because we certainly want to be, what's the word I want to use? We certainly want to make sure that we're sympathetic to the plight of agents that are really in serious financial dire straits. So if there's somebody who can't make a mortgage payment, or there's somebody who, again, needs medication for their kids, and that commission check would make a difference in that regard, we'll look at that. We haven't done it for anyone yet because no one has come to us. We'll do that on a case-by-case basis, but we're not considering a blanket change in our cap policy or anything along those lines. I don't know if that answers your question, Oscar, but hopefully it does.
He said yes. Okay, how does the opening affect unemployment?
Well, I don't think the opening itself, because the opening itself has no impact, whether you make money or not. So I don't think the opening itself has an impact. And I'm not an attorney and I haven't filed for unemployment, but I would imagine the unemployment is more impacted by the money that you earn. But if there's, when I don't know something, I'll admit it. I don't know the answer to that, but I just assume the physical opening of a building would not impact it as much as are you earning money. But is there anybody here who's, Karen Boyle seems to know more than most attorneys about this. Is she on the line? Or Joe, do you have any sense for that?
Yeah, I think the question that people are asked from unemployment when they apply each week or however often that's being done right now is, have you earned any money? That's historically, that's what changes that. But I'm not 100%.
I think the
99.
answer from the last attorney was, and I'm not sure if it's the right answer, was sort of, if you got paid in that week, to just not claim that week. But then the next week, if you're not paid, you can go back to claiming.
Can I say something?
Can I say something?
yet.
Oh, I was under the impression that if you got a commission check during, like, let's say I got a commission check last week, but it was from a deal that was like brokered before the pandemic started. So if like you were in contract, then you don't have to claim that you worked that week. That's what my understanding was, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's
There
a
was
little
a
bit all over
call.
the map. I'll
There
tell you,
was
the last attorney that we had said it was the date that mattered was the date that you were actually paid versus the date when you did the work. That was my last understanding. It seems to be
New Jersey Realtors had a call last week, and I think it's recorded. I think we can go back. I'll find the link. And the head of New Jersey Unemployment was on and said exactly what Jamie just said, that if you did the work before the shutdown and you received a commission check, you do not have to claim it. But I'll find that link and send it off to you guys. You can review it.
So it's not.
Yeah, actually, I sat through it and he said the exact opposite. And some of the others have gone back and listened to it. It was on Thursday, the 21st of May, and there was the commissioner and the assistant commissioner, and they both said that the day on the bank check, on the Keller Williams check in our case, or the bank draft, is the day that you got the earnings. And it's not when you think you did the work. They were absolutely categoric about that.
Oh boy.
If you have a commission check, then you have to go by that day, even if you think that you did the work months ago. And that's a change about, because apparently about a month or 6 weeks ago, they said something else, but as of last Thursday, that's what they're saying now. But it is recorded. You can go back and listen to it.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I would say, I'm sure it's frustrating for all of you, but I think nobody's been through this before, including, the government. And I think it's changing day by day. We thought we had the answer. The guy that said it was dependent on when you actually were cut the check was an unemployment attorney. That was his area of expertise, and that was his feeling. But, whoever just said that it was when you work, sound like that whoever told them that was also somebody that you would expect would know what they were talking about. Jamie,
So
who did that come
this
from?
was the commissioner, Al, this was the commissioner at the New Jersey Department of Labor. I guess he's the authority, and the assistant commissioner as well.
So could we wind up getting like in trouble if we filed and then we've gotten a check? I mean,
Well, he said that they'll ask for it back. And the other thing was, he also said you can't not certify. You remember Al, that attorney said, oh, just don't certify that week? You can't do that. You have to certify every week. Because if you try and miss a week, the system keeps track of it and it goes back and makes you do that week that you think you want to miss. Jeannie Williams is the expert. She's really knows what she's doing.
I just posted the link for the njrealtors.com/webinar.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Is Jeannie on the Zoom? Does she have any insight?
I haven't seen Jeannie or Karen on here today.
Okay.
It does say, let's see. Can we buy COVID-19 insurance through Carnegie Insurance for possible lawsuits? Just a thought.
I don't know the answer because I don't even, to be honest, I don't know what COVID-19 insurance is, but we can look into it.
Another thing, the Zamir Group asking, agents asking for their checks to be held due to unemployment. How is the MCA processing that?
It's way above my pay grade. That's definitely Joe.
So you mean not paying someone when we have the commission check-in?
Yeah, so that they could continue to receive their unemployment.
Legally, I don't think we can do something like that. I mean, I think we're supposed to pay within a certain number of days.
10 days, yeah. Anything else?
Not from me, Elise.
Thank you, Al.
All right, it sounds like we've had a lot of questions, which are great. Any suggestions? Have anybody heard anything of other ways to protect, staff and employees and people as they return to the office? Any other precautions that you can think of that we should be taking?
I just want to say that if you are showing a house or if it's somebody else's listing, you should make sure all the doors are open, all the cabinets, everything, so you don't have to touch anything when you go through. And if it's your listing, obviously, I would open up all the doors and cabinets and request that they don't touch anything.
That makes sense. All right, anybody else? Any other questions?
I got a question. I was have a client whose spouse was passed due to COVID-19, and they called me. They asked to come and list the house. I spoke with Colleen. I spoke with Randy. What's the situation? What we do? Which kind of approach we take? And I was recommended to make sure, by the fact that email come from you, to use the company who will come and do cleaning, provide proper cleaning, provide all the necessary documentation. When I mentioned this to the client, they get extremely insulted, extremely, up to the point where they send me a message, an email, they're never gonna work with you or your company, and they was extremely insulted. Do anybody else experience, and what we can do, how we can approach situations like this, because we're gonna face them more and more.
It's a great question. Has anyone else experienced that?
I experienced it when I did a rental, and the tenant coming in requested if they could bring somebody in to do the cleaning, and the landlord said absolutely. So the landlord was thrilled that they were going to do it on entry of the rental. So it was up to the tenant if they wanted to do it. They did ask us permission, and of course we granted it, that they could do it at their expense.
That's kind of different angle. I'm talking about from the standpoint of the listings of the sellers. How in order nicely to explain to them or certain protocol, and in order not to offend them, because that's happened with two of my clients, and they was extremely offended by the question what I asked.
Hey, it's Amrita. I had a scenario when this first hit. I was referred a person who called me. His wife passed away due to COVID. He thinks he had it. He didn't get tested, but his wife definitely did. And he wanted to list his house to sell it. So obviously, the one way you can do it is to say, look, to protect yourself, so that there's no loophole where you could potentially be sued. In order to protect yourself, these are some of the things I would recommend you do so that you are covered. and make it more about their protection instead of your house has cooties and we got to deal with that before. You know what I mean? And you could even say something, again, I don't know your situation, but in my particular situation, the homeowner had already said he did it. But then we also said, you know what, to be safe, let's wait 14 days before we actually let people into your house.
But the argument they receive a clearance from the state of New Jersey after the husband passed away. They probably was retested. But I explained to him, look, with the COVID, we must provide COVID-19 waiver. And in the COVID-19 waiver, you must specify somebody was sick with the COVID. And that's going to make uncomfortable potential buyers, agents who are going to come and show your property. So correct me if I'm wrong or right or wrong here. And what's the...
Well, they have to fill out the right waiver. There's no way around that, right? I don't think you can't say that, oh, we've never had COVID when you did. So you have to fill out the waiver that says the home could have had COVID and it's been X number of days since we've had it. And your person was not willing to fill that out? Is that what you're saying?
And that's the same waiver that also says people who didn't have it. So you can't even tell from it whether someone had it or did not have it. All it's stating is that if someone had it, it's been 14 days since that person has been in the home or has tested negative.
Right, okay. Yeah, initial ones were different, right? You're right.
Yep.
Okay.
So basically, we're not supposed to even mention if somebody passed from the COVID to live in that house.
Well, I mean, there's HIPAA laws around what you're allowed to mention, so you really shouldn't. I don't think you should mention anything that.
And if that's come at the time of the closing, somebody would say, if the seller mentions something and they say, oh, my realtor knew about, it's kind of complicated here.
It is. It is. If you fill out the form, if the form is filled out and people are signing off on that form, you're disclosing it. You're not hiding it. Now, if somebody specifically asks you, you should be honest. You can't lie. But you should also have permission of the sellers because of the HIPAA laws, I think. I mean, I'm not an attorney. This is a lot of...
I think we need to have some kind of disclosure regarding to that, because it's he said, she said, and that's end of the story. They're gonna sue the company because company have bigger pockets than whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I just brought this to your attention just to see if somehow that's not going to happen more and more, and it's not going to fall. That's not going to fall between the cracks.
Joanne is our chief vice president in charge of disclosure. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Joe?
Yes, I'm going to ask Sally, because I think in the way beginning we actually had this situation. So was that you and I on this?
First, yeah, I mean, am I unmuted? Wait a minute.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, in any situation where there's been a death in the house, you are not obligated by the state of New Jersey to disclose it unless you are asked. And if you are asked, you have to honestly answer the question. And so it becomes kind of, in a way, you know, up to you. If you're not asked, if they're making, you know, any kind of questions, even if they're not asking directly, I would say if there's a spouse involved, speak to the spouse about it, how they feel. But, you know, the tricky part is as soon as they move in and they start talking to the neighbors are going to be like, well, how do you feel about the fact that somebody died of COVID in that house? But I believe because of the way the law is written in New Jersey, you would be protected, but I'm going to research that a little bit more, and I'll tell all the brokers, they can let you know.
And I think that's why we added to the waiver the fact that as long as someone has not been present in the home for 14 days, that's
right.
what covered us. So we went to the attorney with that, and said, do we have to, say anything? And that's what he came back with.
I have a question. What I'm wondering about is, does the CDC have any kind of statement about how to deal with a house that has had COVID? Because my experience has been that whenever I give people information that's not from me, but from a source like that, even Realtor.com has helped me, then it really changes their mind. And does anybody really know, anybody here know what exactly the protocol is if someone has had COVID in a house, how to deal with the house?
I don't. I mean, the only thing I would say, CDC, makes medical recommendations, but they don't, legislate. So, we have to follow whatever the governor is saying in
Okay.
turn, or the real estate commission. But it certainly would be helpful to have some data and facts from the CDC to back up. But I don't know if they've issued a determination on showing homes and things like that and gotten that specific.
Or any organization that we can quote, that we can actually show articles or paperwork, because then it's not coming from us, it's not coming from me or the agent, it's coming from a government source.
Yeah, it's something we could look into. I don't know that off the top of my head if there's a government agency that's sort of opined on the best way to do this. But it's a good question.
The company that we're talking to, they're called Health eHabits, who we're going to have clean our offices. Oh, Healthy Habitats, sorry. They actually have a service because the owner is a Keller Williams agent, and they have a service where they can go in and clean listings and things like that. So we'll get some information about that, and we'll get it out to you.
That'd be good.
All right, Elise, any other questions you see in the chat?
No, not specifically.
I have one question.
Susan has a question. Susan, you got to lean up a little bit. We can't hear you that well.
Okay, sorry. How's that? Is that better?
Better.
Better? Okay. With the waivers, so I just took a listing and the seller signed the waiver just for sellers. Now, this hold harmless. When do you have them sign this? When someone comes to see the house?
I'm sorry, I don't.
You guys are exposing me as not knowing a lot about what I should know, because there's another thing I defer to Sally and Joanne. They've been, handling all the waiver questions. What's going on?
So I don't know what you mean by the seller waiver.
Well, here, there's a seller and buyer hold harmless.
Yeah, they both signed that one.
Both sign that, but the seller also has to sign the separate seller waiver, correct?
No.
No, this is the only.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
That was easy.
I think that I don't see anything else.
Anybody have any questions who didn't put it in chat? Anybody?
Sammy is raising their hand.
All right, Sammy.
Go ahead.
Hi, I think I'm unmuted. Oh, unmuted? Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you, but we just see the top of your hat.
Right. Joan from Keller Williams, Town Life. Hi, everyone. Everybody stay safe. All good questions. I just wanted, somebody mentioned about asking about masks. I do have a source. If anybody's interested, they can always call me. And the prices are very good, I think. So I want to respond to that.
Can you share that with us, the info?
I don't have it in front of me. I didn't know if anybody would ask, but I definitely, I'll give you my phone number and you can call me and I'll pass it along. It's a medical supply company. They don't charge for shipping. And I think they have many different logos. They have disposable, they have cloth, they have everything you can think of. So it's all If anybody wants to call me, I'll give them the information.
So who can take Sammy's number down and follow up on that? Joe, Elise, somebody?
Yeah, it's Joan, by the way. I don't know why it says Sammy because my granddaughter's on that. Okay. It's Joan.
Joan, what's your last name? I'll reach out to you.
I'll call Joan Berger, Berger.
Okay.
And it's
Please, I got a
908.
question.
Yeah, 908-501-9246.
Okay.
And I also have the signed waivers. I've been doing that. I've been getting agents. I will not show it unless the waiver is signed. It's very clear to me. Thank you. And Alex, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Even with my hat.
I like your hat.
Who's taking down my number? Who took it down?
I got it. I'll reach out to you after this.
All of our agents. You're going to get
Okay.
inundated with calls.
908-501-9246. You got it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Kathy has a question.
I got a question. I see here in chat, Oscar put, attorney refused to sign my COVID-19 form. Basically, if somebody did not refuse to sign the COVID-19, we allowed to refuse the showing. It's my understanding.
Vice President in charge of waivers, Joanne?
So I'm not surprised that an attorney would give pushback on signing a waiver because that's how attorneys make their money through lawsuits. So Oscar, if you want to call me offline and tell me what the problem is, maybe we can come up with something to work that out.
But what's the general, if somebody, if that's not attorney, if that's regular job, refuse to sign the waiver?
I wouldn't let people in the house.
Right.
Period. I had blank.
With that said, usually Joanne has gotten on the phone with them or Sally, and they find out why they don't want to sign it. And when they explain that it's really kind of a non-event and they understand it, they acquiesce and they sign it. So your answer, Ira, is the right one. But I think usually we can, come to a resolution whether people are okay with signing. A lot of times it's just they don't understand, or the attorney's just trying to act like they're protecting their client, and that's what they do. And when you explain it to them, they're okay.
I think that what's been a little tricky this week is that as representing buyers and taking them out, a seller already so the listing agent already has a COVID document that their seller has signed. And so now we're asking them to sign the Bergen County document so that there's two documents that are being signed. And that's where that's been a little bit of a dicey situation in terms of them feeling like, why do I have to sign another document that's the same document if they had been using like the New Jersey standard document, and now I'm asking them to also sign a BCP document. So that's, I think, where we could use a little bit more help, because that has become a little bit of a sticky situation.
Wait till you hear Joanne's answer. It's so good, it's going to blow you away, Kathy.
Thank you that's a really good point and question. And what we've done is this: we've read other brokers' waivers, and there are a couple that we're okay with. The state one that you're referring to, we are absolutely okay with. So if it's your seller, we want you to use our waiver. Mm-hmm. But if the seller is represented by another broker, as long as they're using New Jersey, then you can have your buyers sign that one.
Oh, God. Okay, that's very helpful. And then if there's another version, we should use ours, or can we come to you if we're finding ourselves in an awkward situation? Because we don't want this to become a negative situation.
Exactly. So we needed to hold harmless and indemnify. So rather than you trying to be a lawyer and read it, your brokers, I make them aware every time there's another one that I see that we think is good. So we're trying to have like a library of the forms that are okay. So just check with your broker, and if you have one that you want to shoot over to me or to one of them, then we'll absolutely jump on it. We've made this like our number one sense of urgency thing that we're dealing with.
That's great. Thank you so much.
And so Joanne, Sally, the other brokers, they've been doing this now for months, and they come across, sometimes situations are unique, and it makes sense why somebody doesn't want to sign it because they have a very unique situation. but we've been able to develop different documents that address concerns, still protect the company, still protect you, but are still something that the buyer or seller are willing to sign. So if you come across a unique situation, if you reach out to Joanne, she probably already has a document that'll solve your issue.
And just to remind everybody, when you get a signed waiver, make sure that you keep it in the loop. It needs to be in the loop, even if it's for a buyer that you end up not selling them a house. We need to keep that on file in case anything comes up later.
And I just see a question from Jenny. So we want the sellers to sign the waiver when you take the listing. And as Sally said, then it should go in the loop. The only time they have to sign an updated waiver is if the situation changes. So if, God forbid, someone in their household were to get sick and get COVID, then they're signing that original waiver, which says that they're supposed to make you aware, and then we'd have to do the 14 days, and then they would sign a new waiver. Hopefully that answers your question. What if it's not your listing? As long as the seller signs when the agent takes the listing. So we would just assume that nothing has changed.
So you don't have to get an updated one if you want to show it 2 weeks later.
No, because all of them say, we're signing that this is our status right now. And if something were to change, we would let you know.
Thank you.
Sure.
Elise, any other questions? I want to see if we can get this going till at least 7 p.m.
There's a question regarding testing, how often to test, and will temperatures be taken if entering office, since so many asymptomatic are who we worry about?
So how often to test? We're struggling with that again. What I said is, our plan was to have anyone, an agent or staff, have to be tested and certify that they were negative before entering the office, but we're told that's actually illegal by a reputable law firm. So we're looking into that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but if we can't test legally, if we can't require it even once, I don't even know if we can answer the question of how often. And we had a similar answer. Again, we were planning on doing the temperature checks, and what came back on that were 2 issues, both legal ones, and we want to put your health above our legal potential jeopardy. But the question from the lawyer was, are the people taking the temperature, are they medical professionals? What happens if somebody takes a temperature and they say it's fine, and that person actually had a temperature and was symptomatic and goes on to spread it? Then is that that staff member liable personally? Is the company liable personally? And then secondarily, how do you have somebody volunteer to be the temperature taker and put themselves in harm's way, even though they're not a medical professional? So it's what we're looking into. Do you have your front desk person, even with gloves, still potentially putting themselves in harm's way by taking everybody's temperature, even though it's, I know they have the non-contact forehead thermometer. So it's, the questions get a little bit complicated, but we're looking into it. We want to maximize the safety without doing something that could potentially put our staff in harm's way or bankrupt the company with a lawsuit. I don't know if that answers the question. My best answer as of 4:40 on Friday.
Thank you. She said it does answer the question.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
Not from me. I'm pretty talkative.
I see Susan has another question. I would just dot loop it to the buyers.
Yeah.
Or DocuSign.
It's not my buyer, though. It would be the other realtors. Send it to the other realtor. Do you know what I'm saying? The buyer's agent would be bringing the buyer to my listing, and in case I couldn't be there,
Yeah, you should have those waivers signed before the showing is even scheduled.
The buyer should sign it before the showing is even scheduled.
Before you confirm the showing.
Okay.
It's on the documents under D for the MLS.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. Thanks, Arlene.
I don't show it until people sign it.
We're seeing some really wild hand gestures from Karen Kleiman. Are you okay, Karen? What's going on?
I can't
Karen?
unmute you, Karen. You gotta unmute. Karen, you gotta unmute yourself.
I think she's on a phone conversation.
Maybe she's talking to someone else. She's okay. I was getting scared that something bad was happening. All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. I guess we're wrapping it up. Sorry we went over. I hope this was helpful. I don't think anybody's going to come away and say, awesome. You have every single concern I have addressed. We're trying to address them. It's fluid. We think we have a very smart agent and base of people in our staff that'll come up with even, better ideas than we have for how to keep you safe. So let us know as we move forward what we can do to keep you safe, and we're happy to implement it. But I guess, again, ending this, if there are 2 points that I would say is, one is, be kind. There's half of you that are chomping at the bit to get out there, and half of you that say that it's irresponsible and we need to shelter in place, and neither of you are right. We can't sort of point fingers at each other and make people, feel bad about it. We all have our own situations, different places financially, different places with the makeup of our family at home. So just, try to be empathetic. And the other message is, when you look at the number of showings, real estate in New Jersey is open for business. We were talking about when this would be lifted and when we can get out there and sell. And the time is today. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want to, people are out there showing homes, buying homes. Listings seem to me like they're gold. There's such a shortage of listings. When you get a listing, they sell immediately. So, if I were actively selling real estate, I'd get out there and, be talking to my sphere and potential listing clients and talk to them about how this is a great time to buy. The one stat I didn't show, everything is going down except for showings. The one other caveat is sales price. Average sales price in the middle of this pandemic is actually going up. Because of the shortage, people are paying more for homes. So it's a great time. If you're somebody who's willing to put your home on the market, it's going to sell fast and it's going to sell for over asking in almost every market. So if you have somebody on the fence who's thinking about listing, now's the time to give them a call. And those are my parting words. Anybody else have anything before we wrap it up? I appreciate you staying on the phone so long. And if you have something you want to share, any ideas, and you didn't get to voice them, you can email me, text me, or give me a call. All right, going once. Anybody have any last comments?
I'm so excited for the office to open.
What's that?
I'm so excited for the office to open. I miss my people.
Me too. We're very excited. We just want to make sure we do it safely. So again,
absolutely, and I appreciate that.
Those of you who came on late, we think it's going to be the 6th when we'll get the order that we can reopen. We're going to have 3 to 5 business days with the staff in place. So there's only a few people in the office, making sure we know how we can operate safely. And then after those 3 to 5 days of kind of getting acclimated, that's when we'll start bringing back agents.
Al?
Yeah.
Al, it's Karen. Hi. I just want to thank
Not muted.
all the BCP staff, you, everyone from the Dophies to all the way up to you and everybody else, because you have been so wonderful these past almost 3 months, 2.5 months, 3 months. It's nice to know that everybody's there for us. I mean, Cindy Smith she calls me every week, a couple times a week, just to check in, see how I'm doing. I heard from Eileen this week. It's nice to know, especially because I'm single. It's nice to know that people give a shit. And I think, I guess if everybody agrees, stick thumbs up or say yay, because bravo to all of you guys, because you know what, you're the best group around, and I'm grateful that I'm part of the BCP family. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for saying that. And the one thing I'll say about that is, you know, we appreciate that, and we do have a great staff. But, you know, as part of the staff, I would say we realize that we don't have an income or a job if not for all the agents. So really, we should be thanking you. You know, as great as the staff is, and they are great, and they're going above and beyond. But we realize, you know, we're not, you know, managers. You know, we're servants of our agents. Without our agents, none of us have jobs. From me on down. So.
But you're taking apart, you know what, it's just that you give a shit. You know what, you actually care. And that's the important part, because I see others and other things that are going on. I mean, I can see that it's heartfelt, and that really makes a big difference. And I'm saying, you know, everybody knows me. I can talk too much sometimes, but I really have to say I really appreciate you all. Thank
We
you.
have that in common. I talk too much too, but I do appreciate it. And again, I will say the other part is, you know, what I didn't get to say is we wouldn't have a job without all of you. You're the way we earn a living, but it's also, you know, the KW family thing is not a platitude. You know, we feel like we've developed a family. We're not helping you because we want to help you financially alone, because we feel that we are a family and we care about you as human beings, and we want you to succeed, and we want you to get through this and be happy and healthy and financially stable. And, you know, I will say, you know, it's been a good environment for us to have people join Keller Williams, because we're reaching out to other companies and they're saying, I haven't heard from anybody, my broker, in 3 weeks. And we're talking to our people 3 times a day. So I do agree our staff is doing a great job. And I wish some people could see, you know, the flip side of what it's like at some of these other companies that have just gone dark, you know. So our staff is doing a great job. Our agents are doing a great job. And I hope you all have a great weekend. And thanks for spending all this time with us today.
You too.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.